Oof, no.
Good morning. We're going to give it just a minute for people to join.
Strange.
This is a lot more fun when we have questions, so please pop up the Q&A and ask away as we go. Excellent. I think we're here. So I'm Bill Bice. I'm here with my partner, Ken Bassam. Hey, Ken.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
I am doing awesome. We have been working on practice management for much longer than I would ever like to admit. Taking a bit different approach this time, though. So our goal is to enhance the investment that you're already making in practice management. It's such a huge project to switch practice management systems. So we have been talking to our firms and learning about what the needs are and how we can make things better. And of course, we've started with the system that we know extremely well with ProLaw, and I'm kind of psyched about what we're showing off here today, because it comes directly from that feedback and really leverages the amazing data that is in your financial management system that is in ProLaw. So what do you want to add to that? How are we going to get this started?
No, great. I'm super excited about it as well. We get to look at live software today, look at the latest and current release of DataQ for ProLaw. I was just getting a couple of things ready here on my end, and then we'll go from there. So maybe I'll just start by sharing my screen, Bill, if that would make the most sense. And I do please encourage everybody to any questions that you have. I'm sure that many will come up, and I guess I should say as well, it's just good to be back with everyone. If you run ProLaw, more than likely I've seen your name at least on a piece of paper or spoken with you at some point. So always good to be back. Let me share my screen here. That's number 2. Oh, just stole my thunder here. So the cool thing is, here's the whole slideshow. It's just the one slide. We're talking about unlocking the insights in your ProLaw data. You know, I think for the most part, and I was there and part of the decision, but we had a reporting solution in ProLaw at one point that was maybe a little easier to customize than the current solution, I think. And so that's part of the feedback that Bill and I received was, you know, how can we get back to the quick reports pro world? And although we didn't rewind time or go to that, we're delivering a solution that I'm really excited about. This is DataQ. It's actually was born in the cloud. So what I mean by that is and the benefits of that, I guess, is that it originated as a cloud product. It's hosted in Azure. What we're looking at right now, I just threw it up on the screen, is a view into a ProLaw database. So this is a complete, basically data warehouse that's hosted in the cloud in your own private tenancy, that you can come through and do all of these types of reports and searching and things that we're going to look at today. And what's cool about that is you're doing it all outside of the ProLaw database. So if you're running these deep realization reports and things like this, you're not going to see any effect on ProLaw running within the firm, because we're doing it completely outside of that. And in fact, every 15 minutes is when this data is updated. So it is going and grabbing changes every 15 minutes. So it's current as of that. That's the frequency that everybody's kind of landed on at this point. And I love to answer this before I get the question, which is, okay, you're going to take all my ProLaw data and you're going to put it in the cloud in a useful way so that I can report on it. How long is that going to take? And the beautiful part about that answer is it's a matter of hours, and not even that many hours, right? So less than I think one of the largest conversions we've done took about 3 hours. And I'm sure if Steph were on here, she would say, well, there's more to it than that, Ken. But it really is, less than a day. You have all of your data in a usable fashion, ready to work on. So just a little bit of lay of the land, what we're looking at here. Again, this is my ProLaw test database, and thanks for Kyle to go and putting all these transactions in, so we have data to look at today. But over here to the left, you'll see the navigation pane, similar to a toolbar, right? Just on the left side. So we've got all of our matters or cases, how we want to look at those, all of the contacts that we want within here, as well as all of our billing parties. And then an area that we're not going to really discuss today is activities, which lends itself more to the DataQ product. So ZeroWorks is one platform, and we've got a couple of different tools that we've released on it. Today's focus is DataQ, but if you have questions outside of that, happy to address those as well. So within each of these sections, you can see what we call folders, very similar to what ProLaw would call saved searches. And you can come through and have defaults based on who you are, basically on what you want to see. And you can have those both within, matters and contacts and so on. And then over here to the right is just showing me the view that I've set up for how I want to see when I come in and default to all matters. What are the pieces of information that I want to see? And you can scroll across. I mean, I think there's a ton of columns within here that you can make or enable in order to show what you want to see. And then from within here, obviously I can single click or double click and go and look at this data in more detail. So to do that real quickly, and we'll just select, let's see, we'll just say anything over 30, we come in there, there we go. And so I highlight this, and I'll just grab us a little bit more screen. So I'll minimize the navigation. And what you see when you open up a matter is initially kind of 4 tabs across the top, very similar to how ProLaw does it. So if I wanted to see related contacts, I could certainly do that. If I wanted to go to the general tab to know who's working on the matter or the type of case that it is, or whichever, I can certainly do that. So again, just your data that's showing through here. And then the initial screen, which is something called inquiry at the matter level. So we're going to look at a couple of different levels today. We'll look at matter, we'll look at client, and then we'll look at professional and look at firm, and looking at data basically along those lines. So within here, I'm just going to move you here a little bit, Bill. So within here, I can look at, and I'm just looking real quickly on this matter, I can see different things like AR aging, WIP aging. I can see what ProLaw would traditionally have on my inquiry tab. Also with this view, seeing billing contacts and some basic trust information, as well as payments and invoices that have gone out the door. And so the initial view when we're talking about DataQ is I want to take a look at this data in more detail. So all I do is toggle this button. I'll get, again, a series of different tabs across the top showing me everything about this matter from a financial standpoint. So I can look at the accounts receivable, the WIP, billed, paid, what's been written off, and then down below, real-time data that's showing me basically this time frame. So right here, I'm looking at August 2010 to 22, maybe a little bit too big of a data set. So I can just drag this across. It's going to redraw everything based on what's been billed for within whatever time period I selected. And then all of these graphs and so forth are dynamic. So if I wanted to come through to professional, hoping that we have a few, and maybe I only care about myself, I can just drill down into that and then automatically get a view within this matter that's showing me the transactional level detail, and then a fee cost breakdown, what my average rate is, worked versus billed, and so on. So doing everything here from the matter level itself, and then able to break that down by type, professional, component, task code, whatever that you find useful. The maybe nicer thing about that is anything that you don't find useful, you can also remove through a series of preferences and security. So very granular from a security standpoint. Real quick, Bill, I'll breathe. Anything that you want to add up to this point?
So this is really the crossover between BillingQ and DataQ. So these dashboards exist in both. And what we're really doing is building on the dashboards that we created in BillingQ, which is going to be the next step you're gonna get to in a moment. I just wanted to point out the crossover there between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there is a little bit of overlap. I like to show it this way because it shows the progression of development, which is initially when we came out and had the inquiry tab, we were looking at additional information that might be on more than one screen within ProLaw, but very useful to be able to see all in one place. And from that, again, how we develop is based on client request. It took us to deeper dashboards. And then beyond that, it was, okay, well, if you have all of the data, right, what else can you do with it? And the answer is quite a bit. So we can come through here. And now if we don't want to see things at a matter level, and happy to go into the client level, but I think the key today of what we want to see is I can just come through and say, hey, just show me my matters. And so again, I get that exact same kind of grid view that's set up based on how I want to see it. And then I hit this, I think that's a pie right there, right? And just come to professional. And now within that, it's going to show me everything that I have based on the My Matters search that we've put in. So again, professional, I think billing, originating, responsible, attorney all default to year to date, because that's been the most frequently requested. Is like, I want to come in as a professional, see what I've got year to date. You'll see the breakdown below of the work plus billed, written off, what's been collected, where's my WIP and my AR. Down below, you'll get further detail of that. So again, it's just showing me each of my matters over here to the right, over here to the left in my pie chart. It's pretty darn even. Thanks to Kyle again. He had to come through and do some handiwork so we have data to look at. But as I go across the top, I can look at any of the detail that makes sense. And maybe again, I care more about the paid information within here, so I can come through and take a look at that. I can come through and grab again if I wanted to take a deeper view. So it's all dynamic. So as I'm drawing this, as I'm selecting certain components, it's going to redraw the dashboard based on what I've told it I want to do.
Yeah, so this is your working attorney dashboard. So the idea is that you can expose this for every attorney in the firm. One of the things Ken will show is that it's very easy for us to customize these dashboards. So maybe you don't want to show as much information to associates. So very easy to make an associate version of this that doesn't show dollars billed, for example, or paid. But it gives the ability to push out to the attorneys so that they're always able to see how they're doing with right up to the moment insights.
Excellent. So let's take a step back here real quick, and we'll just go to all matters. So I'm just going to select all matters here. At that point, again, I'll just minimize that and grab my dashboard. And maybe in this instance, I want to go and look at realization. You'll notice the utilization quite low. We only have transactions on 3 professionals within the database. So everybody else has not been billing, but I could come through, and again, I'm looking at every matter that we have in the database and seeing that from a very macro view. For today's purposes, I'm just going to come through and select a few professionals, so I can come through and either search. Obviously, you'll have more than what we have here, and many times, so you can just type the name in as well. But it's going to come across and show, based on those 3 professionals from a realization standpoint, the breakdown between worked, billed, and paid. So you get the graph kind of over here to the left, and then some summary buckets over here to the right for both utilization, billed, and paid realization also. And I know you love this report, Bill, so or dashboard, I guess I should say. What would you care to add?
Well, I really do. So one of the things that is really hard to get out of ProLaw is period comparison information that shows how you're doing over time. So this is just a comparison of this year to last year, but we could expand it to show us the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever we want to do. And it's really amazing to visually be able to see the trends. And so now I'm seeing 4 years worth of data on this one screen. So I've got month by month with a bar for each year. It's really easy to see what the progression is that's occurring in the firm, and being able to see this across work, billed, and paid all in one view. This is just amazingly powerful to be able to capture this all in one view.
So we can drill down into the detail, however that it makes sense. But so the work utilization just come across, and again, very granular from a security standpoint for what we want to show. But just that quickly, if we wanted to go see billed realization for 4 years, you have the ability to do that. We've got some different ideas as far as the charts and how we're presenting these things coming across, and happy to go into any detail that would make sense across here. But you start to get the idea. Again, I'm only looking at these 3 professionals. You can look at it, of course, from a firm-wide perspective. I just only have transactions on these 3. And then taking a look at write-offs as well. I know one of the key things is, and Bill and I were having a discussion the other day, and because we've been in practice management for a long time, we talked for years about capturing the attorney desktop, right? And what kind of software could we create that an attorney just lives and breathes in? And then at one point, I can't remember which one of us came up with it, but we decided that's already been done. It's called Outlook, right? So that's where attorneys choose to work. I came up with the same kind of idea around here, which is, what the somebody in finance's desktop often looks like, and it's many times Excel. So from that standpoint, if I look at all this data, and maybe it's great, I trust it, I believe it, all these things, but I do want to double check it. You'll see a data tab directly over here to the far right. And this is literally available on any of these components or dashboards that we're looking at. But you can come through, see the data, and then all I have to do is come through, and that's the filter. Actually, we're going to click this button, and I can just click one button. I can export it to an image. I could take it out as a PDF, or I could go to Excel. And by clicking to Excel, and I just have it up here as well, we'll take all of that data out. Right. So if you wanted 4 years of data, realization data based on the dashboard we were just looking at, and you want to move that to Excel and not a report format, but just kind of a raw data format, it's literally just a click of a button. All of that information comes across, and then you can do with it as you wish.
The reason we're able to do this is because we're running a data warehouse of the ProLaw data, which creates different summaries of the data so that we can pull up dashboards like this in real time and have it be a very interactive experience. And you're not waiting, long time periods for different reports to run. Kind of your alternative is run a series of reports with different dates and line them up across the conference room table, or build a bunch of Excel worksheets, which is the common solution to get this data over time. Here we're calculating that in the data warehouse. That's why we're able to create this interactive experience with real-time data that you can just play with.
Yeah, and it's great. And the feedback so far for the dashboards that we've generated, of course, people always have preferences and things that they would like differently, or things they would like additionally, and we'll talk about that here in just a second, but these were actually all created by folks who have been doing consulting for ProLaw clients, creating custom reports that people needed. So all of our default standard dashboards were built on a collection of requests over the previous 3 or 4 years, where Kyle Johnson and some others had been writing custom reports. So it's really cool. I think in the past, you would put a report booklet together and there would be 200 reports in there, and people get to about page 3 and say, "Yeah, these are great, but here's the 10 that I need." And so it's really important for us to be able to continue to replicate that. And so I'm not going to do too much customization because Kyle might kill me. And actually, that's not true because we built a revert within here. But on any dashboard that you're on, assuming you have security rights to do so, you can click into edit, and that dashboard becomes completely editable at that point. The real reason I'm not going to do it is because I've not spent enough time in it yet to do anything useful or meaningful. But you'll see the tools directly built within the platform. So whether or not you wanted to change the layout, if you wanted to add additional filters, if there was other kind of maps that you wanted to use, and then obviously sums and calculations and things like this, you can come through and edit certain, see all the options for what you want that to be. If you want to edit titles and change things like this so that it matches the nomenclature your firm uses or what your firm would like to use, you can do that. And then the really cool thing is if I come in and change a bunch of things and I say I shouldn't have done that, you can just revert and it'll take you back to your original dashboard. Or maybe the best practice would have been to copy to begin with and then go work on that one. But if you do make a mistake, you can revert it back to the original. So this is an area that we're going to continue to build out, and I'll let Bill speak to it for just a second. But we do realize that as good as we can get the dashboards and as thorough as they are, and as I think pretty as they are, there's always going to be things that individual firms need that we might not have thought about. And so customization and the ability to do it in a way that doesn't require you to have deep database knowledge has been really important from the very start when we started building this. But anything to add to that, Bill?
Yeah, we know we're going to be doing a lot of customization for the dashboards, particularly out of the gate, but really forever, because every firm has their own requirements. But our larger goal, there's such a great community around ProLaw, is to enable consultants to be able to go in and do all these kinds of changes, and for firms that have the resource and capabilities in-house to make it realistic again for you to make these kind of changes yourself without you need a certain level of expertise. It's helpful if you understand the queries and the database, but this is much easier to work with than SSRS, which is very powerful and lots of things you can do with it. We really have a different purpose here of creating visualizations of the data and getting that data pushed out to everybody and making it much easier to manipulate and play with that data.
Yeah, and faster as well. I mean, that's one of the things that makes it realistic to be able to use these is the speed. And I can tell you from the very first versions, the speed wasn't necessarily there, but it's something that we've spent a lot of time on to make sure that, especially if you're pushing out the professional dashboard to an individual, if it takes too long to draw, you're kind of dead in the water at that point. So it's been really important for us to be able to do that. One thing I wanted to comment on as well is you can export the entire screen also. So if you need to get this just out and send over to somebody in a visual type format, you can, or within each of the different components, you have the ability to take those out also. So we can go through some of this data is going to be a bit maybe not realistic, just from the standpoint of, I think Kyle maybe made us all billing attorneys, originating attorneys, and responsible attorneys in order to get these exact kind of splits. But if I do want to go see from a billing attorney perspective what this what all of these matters look at. We can see kind of the breakout or the percentage of that. And the same thing's going to be true if we're diving into originating attorney or responsible attorney. And these are all just different examples, but within each of those categories, obviously you can drill down into, we've been looking at billed, but what's been paid and what's been written off. So if you wanted to go look at everything from a responsible attorney and all the write-offs across the board, you could see that in a very quick fashion just by pulling this up, as well at the professional level, but more from a firm level at this point.
Yeah, and the way we do this, by the way, is you say which assign type matches these different roles, and then the titles are definable. So if you have a different naming for how you talk about these roles within the firm, it just matches to your assigned types in ProLaw, and now your billing attorneys can just pop in and see exactly where where they're at for the month and the year.
Yeah, so very easily come in through, and if you've memorized these two letters, this is just my matters again, but I could come through on that, limit it now to my matters, and assuming that, to follow Bill's example, if we jump over to billing attorney in that instance and see what's going on, and I don't know that I've drilled into that specific one. So yeah, that might not be the best example because I don't know that I have data there. But let's go back to real quickly here. We've talked about these saved searches, and it's all contextual searching, right? So if I come into over 90 and I go draw my dashboard, it's just going to show me obviously what's on my screen. If I want to go search within over 90, hopefully there are only 3 of them, so I wouldn't necessarily need to do a search, but it's all anything that you need to search on right there. So I could just come through and put in, Nuka or whatever that I'm looking for as far as that goes. And it's going to drill down to that specific information. So any of the folders that you create are going to allow you to search within the folder. So I'm not going back to the warehouse each time to do that. And why that's important is if I come through and say, hey, let's go back to all matters, but I really don't want all matters and I don't see the search that I do want, I just click into the search box. It tells me where I'm starting from, which is all matters. And then I can come through here and say, let's add some conditions. So it's all matters, but I want to do and just add a condition. And I'll say, maybe and the matter details, the area of law contains, and come through and say litigation. And then we can come through and search. You'll notice as well, and I kind of highlighted over it, but that's how you save the searches. So you can come through and choose. And if it gives you the results that you want to see over and over again, then you can just pop directly right back in there and click on save. Now that I've built out the additional condition to limit to all matters, but just litigation matters, I can come back through here and then have the ability to pull up any of those dashboards, again, based on that particular information that I've just filtered it to. Many of the transactions are somewhat the same because those are the matters that we chose so that we could show this across the board. But just to give you the general idea of what that looks like, the ability to filter down. Now, so you can come in and build, and there's no limit on the number of conditions or the number of different groups that you can build. So a lot of granularity in building those, I think we're calling them folders versus saved queries, a little bit more, maybe easier to comprehend on some of the end users. So they can have as many different folders as would make sense, title those what they want, and go from there.
What's really powerful here is you can create save folders that let you slice and dice the data however you want. So you create a save folder that narrows to the part of the firm that you're interested in. So maybe you only want to focus on the litigation practice area like we've done here, but it really be any of the data that's in ProLaw that's available to you in the filter builder. And now your dashboard is just automatically reflect whatever, whatever folder you select. So you can create global save folders that are available for all users, and then individual users can create their own additional save folders on top of that.
Yeah, that's a great point as well, Bill, is that we inherit all of the security that's set up in ProLaw. So your item level security or ethical walls that you've built out or anything like that is completely respected within the data set that you have access to based on what your login is. And not to go too deep into that, but there are obviously unlimited security roles that you can come out and build. And then within the dashboards as well, based on what the data that you have is where we can come through and select based on that particular role who has access to see these different pieces of information. And in this product, we're not really, we're looking at data, right? And we're exporting data and doing things like this, but we're not changing the database in any way. So it really does come down to, do we want to deny the ability to see this or allow the ability to see it? So you can come in and set those up based on your firm's preference. So I'm sure there's many more examples that we could go and take a look at. If there's questions or anything that people want to see, I mean, I think overall, this is a pretty high level overview, but if we want to dig in deeper on a kind of firm by firm basis, we're of course open to doing that at any time. As I always say, Bill, I'd like to make it more complicated than this, but that's pretty much a high level overview of what we're looking at from a DataQ standpoint.
But actually, it takes hard work to make things simple. So I'm happy when the demo is pretty darn straightforward.
Excellent. Think of anything that we missed, or we have any questions come in as of yet?
I think we are good.
Okay, speechless. That's how I like to leave them. Just joking, but we really do appreciate everybody's time this morning. We'll give you a little time back. Appreciate you logging in, and please do. We'll follow up with you. But if you have any specific questions, or if there's anything that we can do to help you individually, please reach out and let us know.
We love ideas and feedback, so just keep it coming. Thanks for your time this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Oh,
All the attendees are gone now.
Would you like to pause the recording?
It seems like a good idea, as long as I remember to start it up again. Morning.
Morning, Bill. I don't think anybody else can speak, so that was figured I should talk to you. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a one-way street though, because there is a little QA button that you can click on and say things that way. We're gonna wait just a second before we get things kicked off.
Look at that. Somebody's already hit Q&A for us. Those are the most fun webinars if you're on this side. So any questions are always welcome.
Hello back to you, Thomas.
Got to get better on our filler for the first 2 minutes here, Bill.
Well, you're the entertaining part of this duo, so I'm relying on you for that.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm on the spot. Getting close.
Well, I think we're in a good place. We just wanted to give people a second to join in.
Yeah, they're continuing to come in, which is awesome. Make sure that we repeat that the questions and things like that are super welcomed.
All right, let's get started. I'm Bill Bice. I'm here with my partner, Ken Bassam. Hi, Ken.
Hello, Bill. Good morning again.
So, Ken, we've been in practice management for a really long time. I don't like it when you talk about when you attach a number of years to that. But when we started ZebraWorks and brought the original team back together, which then turned into the merger that created InQ ZebraWorks, it was to do exactly what we're here to talk about this morning. We don't want to replace your practice management system, your financial management system. It's such a big process to do that. What we want to do is make it better. So we've been talking to our old firms and learning a ton. And so we first came out with BillingQ that makes the whole billing process take less time at the very last stage of communicating with clients. And part of doing that, we had to get the ProLaw data and make that really efficient. And then people really wanted to be able to dive into that data. And so it very naturally led to what we're talking about this morning, which is DataQ.
Yeah, absolutely, and happy to be back with everybody. If you're running ProLaw, I've most likely either seen your name on a piece of paper or had a chance to meet you at some point. So I'd love to be back in this arena. So super fun. You'll hear us say it more than once. What I love about what we've done so far is we're definitely back to the days of taking client feedback and within a matter of months incorporating that feedback into the product. So anytime you have people who are in sales, they really appreciate that because you're out talking to clients and they say, oh, if it only did this. And now we've got the capability to make that happen. And so you'll see, I'll kind of walk us through the progression just a little bit about how we got here without going too in depth, and then take a look, spend the majority of our time with on DataQ. Anything else before we get started, Bill?
Well, and we really designed this to be very customizable. Every firm has their own, specific needs. That was kind of the beauty of how things were in ProLaw reporting in the early days. And we really want to get back to getting that power back in the hands of firms and consultants that work with firms.
Absolutely. So I'll do this real quick. I created a slide and then realized I probably don't need it. So we'll just jump straight to the software, because all it really does is tell you the name of the webinar, but you guys are all here, so you figured that part out. So let's do this. Make sure I can share here real quick, and just give me a quick check. Bill, you can see that?
You're all good.
Excellent. All right, so let's do a little bit of lay of the land, if you will. And again, won't go into too terribly much detail here, but what we're looking at is a data warehouse that's in the cloud of a ProLaw database. It's exactly the same way that it works with all of the firms who we have running one of our platform products. ZebraWorks was actually created as a platform so we can enable different tool sets or workflows or products within or contained within that platform. And it's 100% cloud born, right? So it's never been anything else. It was born in the cloud, which has certain advantages around security and how you set things up. We don't have to retrofit anything. It's literally just a cloud born product. What we're looking at today is a data warehouse that's in that Azure, right? And it's updated every 15 minutes. So there's a couple of cool things about that. Is so every 15 minutes, this data is updated. That's the frequency that the clients that we have so far have told us works for them. So that's how we set that up. So all of your data is in a secure data warehouse in Azure, and it's very important in a single tenancy, right? So it's your database. It's never commingled with anybody else, and you can come through and access this. What this allows you to do as we get into some of the more complex, I guess, or deeper reporting, is you can do all of this without ever affecting the performance of your ProLaw database, because they're completely separate. When we do searches here, we're not calling the database. When we pull reports here, we're not calling the database. We're literally just looking at the data that we have directly within our warehouse itself. Anything technical to add to that, Bill?
Yeah, and so we have a question so this is a constantly updated copy of the ProLaw SQL database, and that's exactly the case. So there's a SQL database running behind ZebraWorks that is an optimized version of the ProLaw database that we update every 15 minutes. It is essentially doing a data conversion when we first install ZebraWorks for a firm, but it's fully automated and it's very efficient. So the largest firm we've done to date was a couple hundred attorneys, and that took 3 hours to run the process of grabbing their data. And of course, it's very efficient for keeping it updated after that. So most of the time it takes less time than that for sort of your average ProLaw database. And then what we're doing is rolling up the data in ways that are very useful for reporting, and we'll get into some depth about exactly what we're doing there and why.
Yeah, excellent. You didn't steal my thunder. It's your thunder to steal, but I love the conversion part, right? Because that's always the hardest question of what's it going to take to get this up and going. And Steph would probably disagree with us on that. The actual process is a number of hours. Like Bill said, the longest one, 3 hours. There's a little bit that goes into the beforehand, right, to just make sure that we're doing all that correct. But the end result is that in a very short time frame, less than a day, you have all of your data that's running up in this cloud warehouse that you can access. You can push out to users and so forth. One of the things, as well as we inherit all of the security of ProLaw. So if you've built in ethical walls, if you have item level security, if there's certain things you can't see in ProLaw, you won't be able to see them here. So on top of that, we've built an entire security feature set that's very granular within DataQ, but all of the basics or not basics that were within ProLaw, we're going to inherit as well. So I think that's good enough setup. What I'm looking at right here, if you'll notice over here to the left, it's kind of like the old school toolbar, but it's just our navigation. And so we've got it broken up in three primary sections: matters, which are all your cases or matters, right? All of your client level contacts, or any contact for that matter, as well as billing parties. And then one that we'll not touch on today is activities. I mentioned at the beginning, this is one platform, so all of our practice management products run within here. Today, we're just going to touch on DataQ, but I didn't turn activities off, so there's that. So as we're coming through here, I can see all matters, and that's just going to be what it defaults to. So you can see here at the top, it says all matters. It's showing me exactly that. Any matter that I have access to see. This is the view that I've chosen or set up. So there's obviously other columns, just like you could do within ProLaw, of what you want to see. There are more, or there is additional capability here as far as the columns. There's no one view within ProLaw that gives you all of this information. Might require a little scrolling, but you can define, and the users can define what makes the most sense for them to see. But right now, I'm just looking at all matters. I can come through and see any of these different filters, which we call folders. In the ProLaw nomenclature, it'd be like a saved query. But I could come through and say, hey, just give me anything within here that's over 30. And I think that'll work just fine. And then when I highlight on this matter, it's just going to show me basically some general information about the matter. And I mentioned earlier, I'm going to give you a little bit of progression. So this is showing me the inquiry information on a ProLaw matter, the matter that we got pulled up. I can see the general information. So, who's assigned to this matter, the type of matter, just really basic information that you might want to know. What we're trying to accomplish here is, what might I want to know about this matter without having to leave and go back to ProLaw to find it out? Any related contacts as well. So you can see all of those that are associated. So we just pull that in from ProLaw's related contacts and custom tabs and things like this. And then quickly, an inquiry snapshot. So you have all the traditional inquiry information that ProLaw provides right here to the bottom right, but then you have some different aging buckets. You have the ability to drill down into a particular client. You have your trust information that adds a little bit more detail, as well as invoices and payments that have been made. And directly from here, when we're talking about DataQ, the first thing that we say is, hey, that's great, but what else can we see? So if I want to take a deeper look into this matter itself, then I can come through and drill down, and all the dashboards work very similarly, but I can come through and drill down. And now I'm looking at this matter. I can see, again, the total AR and the total WIP and what's been billed and paid and so on. And then down below, a breakout of the type and the components and tasks and who the professional is, and then all the detailed information below. I think I had this pulled up earlier, so I'm just focused on myself right now. And so I can come through and see all of my particular transactions and the fees and what's been worked and billed and different things like this. So this is just at a matter level. I can, of course, unclick myself, right? Or just clear the filter rather, and then it would show us everything across the board. And so we initially came out, the first view into DataQ or DataQ was the client view of looking at a particular client and seeing all of their matters rolled up together, as well as the matter view, to where I could come in and say, show me everything that's in WIP on this matter, and show me what I want to see. You'll notice this little, that's probably not the best, but the slide chart up top is just going to automatically draw based on what I've selected. So you can navigate to what you want to see as far as that goes. As you click on different components or different options, it'll redraw the dashboard for whatever you've selected. So from here, this is kind of like a little bit, and Bill, you say it better if you talk about the overlap between BillingQ and DataQ. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, so the dashboards we're looking at here at a matter and client level, those dashboards are available with either one. So you get them as part of BillingQ. You also get them as part of DataQ. And in fact, we have a question of can you do the things that you're looking at here at a client level? And the answer is absolutely yes. It's the same exact dashboards that are available at the client level.
Yeah, so if you just, I just went back to the tab where the billing parties were, and so now I'm looking at, there was a split billing matter, I believe. So now I'm just looking at everything at the client level, and you can see, all of that clients matters, hoping there's more than one and there's not. But there we go. So I hadn't planned on showing the client level stuff, but if we jump in to look at one of those, you can see it. And then now it's going to roll up all the inquiry information at the client level, all the payments and invoices that have gone out at the client level as well, and some client preferences and things like that across the board. But all of those dashboards, and we can just come through and pull that up as well. But all of the initial dashboards are all included as a part of DataQ, and it's really where it was born from, right? So we had the initial inquiry screens, we had some feedback that said, that's awesome, can we drill down? And we couldn't, but now we can. So that's part of that whole client feedback idea. And then they said, hey, these are great, but now people want to see everything that pertains to them, right? It's great that you have it at a matter level. It's great that you have it at a client level, but again, just show me all of my matters and show me what my performance looks like. So if I come back over here and assuming that I've memorized these folder names and I don't want to expand it out, I can just select my matters. And upon doing that, I'll get the listing of anything that's deemed as my matter. And then I can just hit the pie chart and maybe come to professional for today's purposes. And now I'm looking at everything that's within my matters, and it's automatically rolled up. And I think it does remember your last preferences. The default will just show you year to date. So it'd look a little bit more like this, probably the exact same transactions. And thanks to Kyle Johnson for going into the evaluation database and entering all these transactions so we have something to look at. But so right there, I'm just looking at year to date. I can see what the totals are from what's been worked, right? What's been billed, anything collected, written off, WIP, AR, and so on. And then down below, just further kind of insight into each of those buckets. So if I wanted to come through and see everything that I've worked year to date, I could come across and it's going to break it out at the matter level. And of course, I can go and continue to go across to see the billed level, paid level, and so on. And normally about this time is when the questions come in of like, hey, that's great, but can we do this? And it's very important when we built the tool, and I use the word we a bit loosely, but when the tool was developed for it to be customizable and to have the ability to do that, and we'll look at that here in just a second. But right now I can come through and the professional dashboard, I think the billing, originating, and responsible all default to year to date. Realization will actually do 1 year back, I think, and year to date, which we'll look at here in a second as well. But again, just like we looked at the matter level, anything that you're clicking on or looking at, you have the ability to grab that information and drill down more deeply.
Yeah. So what this professional dashboard, which is designed for your your working attorneys, your associates, it's a great example of the customization, because some firms want to limit for associates what they show to them. So it's very easy to come in here and take the billed and paid information off, for example, if you want to. But this lets your attorneys be up to date at exactly how they're doing at any time. So we've got a question, Ken, about how security works on the dashboards. And so security permissions determine who of your professionals can see which dashboard. So that applies to the client matter dashboards that we were looking at before, and to the these top level firm dashboards. You get to decide who can see what.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's unlimited types of security that you can create as well. And so you can have different types of roles. So if you have a general, associate security and a responsible attorney security, or whatever that you would more aptly maybe name those, you can do that and then go granular within those sections. Or you can just have an individual, like Ken needs to have this security and that's it. So you can come through and identify what that might be. So
another question about where does ProLaw need to be for this to work? So does ProLaw need to be in the cloud for us to do this? And it doesn't matter whether you're running ProLaw on, on premise on a server in your firm, or whether you have somebody hosting it for you. We just install a little piece called the ZeroWorks Bridge that makes the connection. So wherever you're running it, it's an easy setup to make the connection that makes this possible.
Bridge to the cloud, right? So that's how we get you there. So right now I'm looking at my matters. If we wanted to take a look at realization, so maybe let's switch hats and go away from the professional side and maybe look at it from a firm standpoint. I would click the right thing right there and just go into all matters. Now I'm seeing all matters across the board. I can come through and again, draw on that, choose that dashboard depending on what I have security to see. And it's remembering what my last preference was. I'm just remembering right now. So as we come through here, I've actually already chosen for this to only be 3 professionals that I want to see. So although it is all matters, I'm only looking at these professionals across all of those matters. The reason being that these are the only 3 professionals in my evaluation database that have any transactions assigned to them. So if I remove them, my utilization drops drastically because every other professional hasn't done any work at all. And so I thought it'd be a little better if we just selected these.
Honestly, again, it makes your utilization more realistic. So in a mid-sized firm, the average utilization is in the 30 to 40% range. So
Gotcha.
It would be amazing to see somebody that had 82% utilization. So the utilization is the number of billed hours compared to a standard 8-hour workday, and you typically see numbers more like this, between 30 and 40% in mid-sized firms. Large firms, a lot of associates, heavy leverage, you get a higher utilization number. The build number is kind of high. It would be awesome to get 99% of the time you collect actually on a bill. That's usually more in the 95% range. What's really important though is seeing this for your firm over time. So this is kind of the default, is to come in here and compare this year to last year. I really like the way that you had it before, Ken, of showing the last 4 years. And so here I have in one place, month by month, for the last 4 years, I can visually see what the trends are in my firm for work billed and paid realization. And so being able to do that over time and see the period comparisons, and have this pop up in just seconds, and be able to play with that data, pick different attorneys, go build a save folder that lets me analyze it at a different level within the firm. This is where the real power of DataQ comes in, is being able to play with the data that way. And so you can get this data, but you're going to get, one piece for 1 month at a time. And so you're either lining up a lot of reports and just looking at a ton of numbers, or you're putting a ton of effort into Excel to track this. So I just love being able to see this all in one place like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can continue to drill in. I mean, one of the nice things, and this might be where, so I can come through, and if I'm just looking at work utilization, I get that same information over here to the right, just breaking it out by professional. Same thing if we want to come through to build realization, which Bill had already commented on, being a little high there, but it's my database, so I get it to be whatever I want it to be, I guess. So wishful thinking, and get different charts and things like that as well. Now, what's interesting about this, before we get into kind of the customization aspect, is Bill and I were having a discussion about when we were writing, practice management software and trying to go after the attorney desktop. At one point, we gave up and said the attorney desktop's Outlook, like that's where they live and breathe and where they want their information. And I started to wonder if maybe from a finance perspective that desktop oftentimes doesn't happen to be Excel. And so what's really cool about this is if you look at the numbers and you say, hey, those all look accurate, that's great, but I do want to double check them, or I do want to understand how this dashboard's made. We provide all the raw data directly within the dashboard for each of the dashboards as well. So right now I'm looking at transactions for 4 years, right? And all the raw data that's associated with that. And that's great if I want to do it on screen, but I can also just come over here to the right and I can export, probably not to PDF and probably not to an image, but maybe to Excel. So I can just come through, click export. Basically what you'll get is not a report format, but actually just the raw data itself. So everything that we just saw on the screen automatically populates over here, letting you or giving you the ability rather to do whatever you need to with that data at that point.
And so there's a one, I certainly prefer that you get exactly what you want out of the dashboard, so you don't need to export the data. But there's some real reasons that you might want to. So one is you can build the confidence that you're getting the right results by exporting the data and comparing it to to other reporting that you're already doing. And two, of course, it gives you the ability to do just whatever you want. And so being able to get this kind of realization information that's already been compiled and that you can now manipulate to your heart's content is just a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and we can continue to drill down into some different examples as well. Always fun on a test database, but if I wanted to go see just all matters or maybe just my matters and get kind of a billing attorney breakdown across what that looks like across all matters, and maybe coming through, not sure if we have any write-offs or not, but come through and see what for billing attorneys, what the average bill rate is, write-ups, write-downs, get a comparison for whatever time frame that we've selected again. So kind of come through and select that and just have it redraw. So there's lots of things that you can do, especially when you think about from a security standpoint, that you can truly control what you might want to push out to the end users, if you will, and what would be important for them to see, as well as what would be important from a firm management standpoint. And again, just kind of drilling down into each of those different areas and have the ability to see the level of detail that makes sense. And then within each of those categories, having the ability to come through and see the write-offs and the raw data and costs and things like that as well.
Yeah, so billing attorney, originating attorney, responsible attorney, those dashboards are essentially the same information, but for those different roles. And so as part of the setup, you say, here's the assign types that match those roles. Here's the labels that we have for them. So it shows up and matches your nomenclature. But this is really powerful to be able to push out a billing attorney dashboard where now all your billing attorneys can pop in at any time, see real-time data of how they're doing.
Awesome. Yeah. And you did say labels, which is about the only thing I'm qualified to customize at this point within here. So we said we would look at that. If I come up here to the top right, and assuming, of course, I have security to do so, I can either copy that dashboard and go play with it for whatever makes sense, or I could come through and just choose edit. I think this is the right one. So I can come through and choose to edit this, obviously title it for what it makes sense. If there's certain things, different things that I want to do, if I want to add filters, add different maps, all of which things that Kyle's told me not to touch is totally fine. So you can relabel any of these things and customize these things. And the whole idea behind this, I mean, what we really want a DataQ to be is, it's helpful if you know the database, but you don't have to be a SQL master in order to customize and get the things that you're wanting to get directly within here. You can click on different components and just have the ability to edit those things for whatever makes the most sense. Go and see different preferences. So it's all the tool and the reporting tools all built directly within the interface. So from that standpoint, I don't have to go to another application in order to learn that. It's just incorporated directly within this view. And I think Kyle might have put it in specifically for me, but directly within here, if I chose not to copy a particular dashboard, I can always revert back to the original. So if you get too far down the road and decide that that wasn't necessarily the direction that you wanted to head, you can revert back and or probably have made a copy of it to begin with, but then just close out, and then you have the dashboard that makes the most sense for you at that point. Anything to add on the customization, Bill?
Yes, our goal there is to get back to where that power is in your hands. We know we're going to be doing a lot of customization out of the gate, where we've been getting lots of great feedback from firms, and we want a whole bunch more. We've already gotten some really good ideas for additional dashboards. So this ability, for example, to do period comparisons, which is really difficult to do in ProLaw today. So we have that data available to us. We're now working on doing that for WIP and AR aging dashboards with period comparisons, so that you can analyze how you're doing in WIP and AR over time, which is really powerful. And so those are the kinds of ideas and feedback that we're looking for, and then we want to enable firms that have the internal capability to do this, to be able to make changes. And then there's such a great community of people that support and work with ProLaw. We want to make it possible for the consultants that you work with to be able to go in and customize and make changes to DataQ on your behalf.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in addition to the help of the developers, I don't think the product or what we're looking at would exist without the client feedback that we had received and got us to this point. One thing I had asked is, like, how do we decide which ones of these to build? And so Kyle, who's a part of the team, Kyle Johnson, if you don't know him, him and others have been customizing reports for ProLaw clients for a number of years now. And it was from all of those requests for customization where a lot of these dashboards were born, right? So we just looked at all of those and, like, what's the most common request that people are asking for? So you're going to get a lot of value directly out of the gate. Just some things that you can't easily get, or you can more easily get here within a consolidated view and be able to work with the data. But then obviously the ability to tailor and customize those is very important as well. So let's go just another couple of steps within here. So you'll see these saved folders, as we've called them, and we've got some really basic ones, right? Current 30, what's over 60, what's over 90, and so forth. I'm again within all matters, but let's say I want to go a little deeper than that. Anytime you're within a folder, you're actually searching in that folder. So if I went to over 90 for fun, and hopefully the firm only has, the 3 over 90, but I wanted to search on, hey, I'm looking for anything that has the word NUCA in it, come through, and it's able to pull that up. So whichever folder you've selected, which are, user definable, then you're only searching within that. So even though we have the data warehouse, we're still not even searching the total data warehouse. We're only doing it within context of what we're looking at. And that's how the dashboards are built as well. So if I'm looking within all matters and I come up here to the search box, I can see that I'm within all matters, and then I can come over here to this filter, and I can just say, what else do I want to filter by? So I'm just going to add a condition, and let's see, we'll come down to the general tab and go to matter details and say, all right, I just want to go see things. So show me a dashboard where the area of law is litigation. If I want to search on that, I certainly could. It's going to show me what I'm looking for. If I say that's exactly it, I'm going to use this every day, I can come back and save it. Again, I could make that global or just individual for myself. So now I'm going to go look at, from a litigation dashboard standpoint, come in and be able to see everything, obviously with the area of law that contains litigation based on how I've set that up. So that's a very simple example, but you can go through very granularly and build these different folders, as Bill was alluding to earlier, in order to draw and create the dashboards that you need. So many times The dashboards are already created, and it's just the search that we want to do in order to limit the data to make them even more useful than they are out of the box.
Yeah, so this is really powerful because you can slice and dice the data however you want. You set up safe folders that let you do the analysis at whatever level makes the most sense, and then you can get into the dashboard and play with the data there. So you put the two things together. It's just it's a lot of fun.
So that's not an ideal utilization, right, Bill?
That one's not as yeah,
Okay.
that was not impressive.
Fair enough. So, and I didn't do it earlier. You can just type as well within here. So if you have more than the 12 professionals that I have in there, you don't have to multi-select and scroll and things like that. So you can just type in the box. And there's probably tons of really cool details that like that I've potentially looked over. We don't necessarily need to dive into the security or some of the preferences, but there are preferences all the way throughout with the security roles, the admin settings for dashboard, whether or not you can even view or do anything with them or deny. So pretty deep from that standpoint as far as the flexibility that you have in order to set that up. But from a really high level standpoint, that's a good overview of DataQ. I think, as with many demos, having it specialized to the particular needs that you have might be even more beneficial, and be happy to do that at any time that it makes sense. But what did I miss, Bill? Anything else that we want to add at this point?
Well, we just had a question of essentially, can we just build, whole brand new dashboards, and yeah, that's exactly the goal. So we've got some great examples that come from prior experience of what firms have wanted, but we've really designed this and built it to be able to create a whole bunch of dashboards, and you can copy an existing one of something as a good starting point, or you can build a brand new dashboard from scratch. So we're going to be building a lot of dashboards now that we have the core platform in place, and it's it's your feedback that's gonna help us drive that. And early firms that we're working with are we're designing dashboards specifically for them, and as we learn from that, we're then going to make it so that everybody can do it.
Excellent. Looks like maybe another question or comment came in.
Yes, the question is what's the cost? How do you want to answer that, Ken?
That's a good question. It's dependent on a couple of variables, primarily firm size, as you might imagine. I mean, if you reach out to either Bill or myself, or to Evan or Anthony, if you've had contact with them, they can help you. But it is somewhat dependent on firm size, both the implementation as well as the cost. The way that it's sold is as a subscription, right? So you're not you don't have to buy the software. There's no large upfront fee that you're taking on to use this, and so it's a really low friction entry point, if you will, both from the money that you put out as well as the implementation that has to be done before you can really start to use it and see the ROI. How was that?
Oh, that was great. I mean, the time it takes us to implement DataQ is less than the time that it takes to typically build a new report in SSRS. So we can put this in place, plug it in, and give you a whole new level of capability, and it's a very efficient process. Excellent. Well, great questions today. Really appreciate that, and your time, and everybody joining us. Thank you. It's been Ken, you've done a great job as always. Appreciate you doing all the work.
Thanks for the assist and adding the smart stuff behind my mouse moving here. So do appreciate that. Thank you everybody for your time and for joining. Obviously, reach out to us if there's anything that we can do. Love to show you in more depth, or answer any questions that you might have. Did we get one more in, Bill, there, or is it just
which is can you access this mobile, and ZeroWorks is designed as a responsive app, so it works really well on an iPad. You can run it on an iPhone. The DataQ part, frankly, I think you want a little more space to run with. But yes, it is designed to run mobile. iPad is really more realistic when we're talking about looking at dashboards.
But if you needed to get at the data, the matter data, see a quick inquiry, get the contact data, anything like that, of course, yeah, responsive, and you have that ability to pull that up.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.